Got a brand new album out, Crazy Nights, and I caught up with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley recently and asked them, it's your brand new album, what's it all about, boys?
Well, if you buy the album, you'll find a hole in the middle of it, and it's 11 songs, and we spent a good bit of time doing it, and it's great. I mean, I can't lie, folks, it's great. It's in the tradition of everything we've done that's real good. I think we kind of liken it to a cross between maybe Animalize, which was the album before last, and Destroyer, which was a pretty good album from what everybody tells us.
One of your classics.
Yeah, so it's quite good. I mean, we spent quite a bit of time writing it, and I think everybody's going to like it. I mean, we're pleased.
Gene, I noticed that Ron Nevison produced the album for you. Now, he seems to be everybody's favourite producer at the moment after his success with Ozzy and Heart last year. What attracted you to him?
Actually, Ron wears very tight pants, and that was one of the more important reasons that we got involved with him. No, that's not so at all. Ron had actually been known to us for a while for his work with the earlier English groups, Bad Company and Led Zeppelin and so on. Right. And that was really much more the appealing factor instead of his recent success with some of the more recent groups. That's not as important. But we'd been producing our own albums for quite some time, and we thought maybe it was time to have somebody else to have a sounding board off of. And Ron seemed like a very good choice. In fact, he really came through, did a terrific job.
I noticed a lot of the material on the new album seems to be written in conjunction with people outside of the band. You, Paul, will go away and write with someone else, and so will Eugene. Don't you guys ever write together?
Also within the band, though. The band also co-writes material with each other. Bruce Kulick and Eric Carr, our guitar player and drummer, lead guitar player and drummer, also co-wrote the material back and forth. So some were outside writers, and some of the material was within the band.
But what about you two? Don't you two ever write together?
No. I think what happened at some point is that we pretty much established styles that were complementary within the band's framework, but at the same time, I think it was essential that they stayed separate. In the beginning, there was more similarity in our writing styles, so maybe they complemented each other when we wrote together. I think at this point, they've both developed in a way that balance each other, and I think it's kind of important to the balance of the band that we keep a certain integrity in our own writing. I don't think that either one of us, quite honestly, wants to compromise for the other. You know, when you have certain ideas of what you want to do, you don't want to give in to somebody else, especially him. I don't want to give in.
Certainly not. I wouldn't want to give in to me either.
Do you ever fight about material?
Oh, sure, all the time.
Rayon, Dacron, Nylon.
All the time. No, I think part of a healthy relationship, anybody that tells you they don't have tiffs, which is a word I never use, but you understand what that means, is really just playing nice politics. We fight all the time. You know, this material is better than that material. Let's pick this instead of that. But sooner or later, the cream rises to the top. And always the main motivation for us is always to make the best possible record. And oftentimes, you have to push ego aside. I mean, ego is a great motivation, but you know, you have to push it aside. And often the best songs, whoever writes them, they have to be used. And it doesn't matter that more of the songs on this record are Paul's. They're just better songs.
Quite honestly, what we felt in the States was, if that's all it is, then we'd just as soon tell our fans to tape it off MTV, you know, because there's really no need to get people paying for something that they can have for free. In other words, it would almost be like subsidizing the cost of making the video in the first place, which I don't think is anything that the fans should have to do. You do the videos as almost a gift to the fans, and then you're turning around and saying, pay for it. So if we were going to put out a package, we felt, let's make it special. Let's give vintage footage, which is a lot of the stuff that
we should mention here actually what is actually on this video. There's archive material.
Yeah, there's live material, as in
black and white stuff that goes back. Some of it has never been televised or telecast.
Yeah, when we were it's an open. There's films of us as an opening act, you know. So we were playing a hall for about 3,800 people as the support band, and there's you know, just really stuff that chronicles the band
But a lot of it is us swimming around, fooling around with a lot of scantily clad females in Paul's summer home in Los Angeles, which is this big palatial house of decadence. It says so as you pull up to it. It says 3819 Mockingbird Lane, House of Decadence. It says so right on the...
So it's fun. I mean, there's great footage. There's also all the videos. There's also interviews with us. There's some beautiful women.
How do you view those bands, with, in particular bands like Wasp or Twisted Sister, who've obviously copped a lot of your look and
fun.
music?
I think it's
Fun. You can't ever... Every band's got to live or die by their own talent, and everybody listens to other bands. We certainly grew up, we don't make any claims to being, you know, the most unique and totally original band that ever existed. We also grew up and listened to other bands, and were likewise influenced by the bands that we grew up with, specifically a lot of British bands. I just got choked up by that. You know, Zeppelin, The Who, a lot of English bands, specifically the more flamboyant of the bands. And so these bands were influenced by us, and you know, that's the cycle. Rock lives on, and it's fine.
You also can't negate that bands every day are influenced by each other. I mean, it's not necessarily only saying new bands. I mean, just by reason of the fact that we're all playing music, you're influenced by what's going on around you. And I wouldn't want to be so pig-headed to think that, you know, we're this magical force that created a genre of music, right? You know.
How long are you going out for this time, and where will you be going?
Until we drop. We have no particular plans. We have the first couple of months booked, and we'll probably stay out, you know, 8 months to a year.
We'll do the States, and that'll take quite a bit of time. You can easily stay in the States for 6 or 7 months and never play the same hall and do 5 shows a week, you know, and play arenas from coast to coast. So we'll do that, and then after that we'll probably gear up to do Europe. I mean, we're definitely, yeah, we're definitely, you know, definitely going to be here. Ideally, we'd like to come over during summer and do festivals, because the one thing that's sometimes difficult for us is when people are seeing photos of us and hearing about our show, sometimes when you come to Europe, you have to compromise that, because quite honestly, some of the stages that we've used, we'd have to knock out the side walls in some of the halls to get that thing in. So by playing arenas, we're a bit limited, but to do the festivals, we'd be able to do the whole show. And that's real important to us at this point. I don't think we want to compromise that, especially for the fans.
The question always arises, how much longer can they keep this up for? Do you see KISS continuing into the 1990s and keeping up the same relentless success that you enjoyed in the 70s and 80s?
It's a big question.
Yeah, it's so hard to say. All you can do is continue something as long as it's fun. And if it's not fun for the people that you're doing it for, then it's not going to be fun for you. And vice versa. I mean, if you're not enjoying it, I think people are going to see through what you're doing and say, well, they're going through the motions. So it's kind of like a party. I mean, when you're at a party, you don't worry about how long you're going to stay. As long as it's fun, you're there. And so far, this has been an endless party. The refrigerator's still stocked. There's still something to drink. There's good food to eat.
And lots of girls.
And lots of girls.